Do you want a financially secure future, not just for yourself, but for your loved ones as well? This is Generations of Wealth, the podcast that breaks down the most effective wealth building strategies you can easily apply to your own life. Join investor and international best-selling author Derek Dombeck in exploring practical tips and sound advice on building a profitable business, creating a powerful brand, or getting into the thriving world of real estate investing. This is your chance to create your very own financial roadmap to live your vision, love your life. Let's begin this discussion with your host, Derek Dombeck.
Welcome to another episode of the Generations of Wealth podcast. I'm your host, Derek Dombeck, and this is the show where, as you've been listening in the past, we talk about living your vision, loving your life. And today I've got a good friend of mine, Jim Manning, all the way from sunny St. Louis to kind of share his journey with us, because Jim and I actually met several years ago. We were in a mastermind together. We became really good friends. I've been on Jim's show in the past. We always have a good time no matter where we are. Sometimes it's professional, sometimes it's not. But Jim Manning, thanks for being on the show, brother.
Oh, thank you so much. And hey, just shout out to your audience. I mean, the Generations of Wealth and Derek, your REI Circle of Trust. What a amazing mission to kind of live your life behind. And I can't think of a better person than Mr. Derek Dombeck to lead you on that journey. So you have been a great friend of mine, a confidant as stuff hits the fan, and it's been a great ride. I appreciate you, brother.
I feel like I owe you a beer now. I mean, this feels like a setup to me. But,
Oh, and I got paid $10,000 to make that. No,
perfect.
Not at all.
Perfect. Checks in the mail. Checks in the mail. And we don't edit anything on this show, so it's happening live.
I
So
love it.
Jim, I mean, seriously, you started out and you are one of the most intelligent men I know. The way your brain thinks, the way you analyze things and can construct a business out of what seems like thin air, even though it's not. It's a ton of work. But you did start out with kind of a mentor that was a self-made billionaire, and you saw that. Talk about what that was like a little bit on your journey, and then we'll just keep jamming.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it was my first job out of college, was eye-opening on what the benefits of being an entrepreneur can do, and how amazing America is. Here was a guy that really had it all on paper. You know, had millions of dollars of wine, had his own private jet, you name it. And it was also at the same time a terrifying example of what all the amazing things of entrepreneurship can get you. So even though on paper he had everything, including a gorgeous model girlfriend in her 20s when he was in his 60s. As I got to know the individual, we worked for him for 2 weeks, and as I got to know him, I realized that, wow, this guy, I wanted to idolize him, and then as I get to know him, he's not happy. He's absolutely miserable. And so, as a 22-year-old, it was just such a strange experience to be able to say, wow, like America's amazing. You can get, if you were willing to work your tail off, you can get whatever you want. And to have that cautionary tale at the same time, and at what cost? You know, like, is it, and to know that, hey, someone can achieve the pinnacle of business achievement, become a billionaire, and not, and be more miserable than what than than what just kind of your average Joe, middle class American might be, right? So um, I thought that it was a fascinating experience, and it led me to entrepreneurship. It led me to wanting to start my own business, but started in a way that led with vision and led with the priorities of measuring my success by what I gave up to get it, not just by what the success was.
Yeah, and that's incredible for you to have that at such a young age and recognize it at such a young age, because many of us don't learn any of these lessons ever in our lives, or we idolize people looking at them through social media or not having the full story, thinking they've got the world by the tail. But it's the grass is often not greener on the other side of the fence. So you got this lesson, you got started in your entrepreneurial journey. What did that, how did that build up? Because I know what you do today, and it's amazing to me. Like, you make my head spin when I hear about everything that you're working on. But
Uh,
what led to that?
yeah, well, I mean, I guess just to fill the gap in, guys. So I founded now 5 real estate companies. 4 are running without me. So it's not everything that like I do. Like we have a whole team and everything now. Um, done over 3,500 deals now in the residential real estate space. Um, but what led to all of that? Oh man. I think it was just a desire to like, hey, like, I mean, that billionaire put a one pant leg on at a time. If he can do it, why can't I? And just, a belief that, hey, we're going to do something big. We're going to do something special. We're going to make a lot of money. We're going to help a lot of people. And, starting with that belief first, um, allowed us to just kind of hit the ground running and work hard. And for anyone that's just kind of like dabbling into real estate or kind of curious about it, yeah, don't. I would encourage you to not necessarily uh, judge me by like or judge yours or try to compare yourself to the 5 companies that we have going on right now. When we first started out, we were just doing short sale deals, and it took me an entire 18 months to do my first deal. So this business there's a lot of information to it. There's a lot to learn on valuing properties, doing property repairs and everything like that. It can take a while. So patience is definitely a virtue that, you may not start as quick. I mean, Derek, I feel like you did like a crazy amount of deals in your first year, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, the first few years we went pretty fast, but then
Yeah.
we also hit the downturn and it got stopped very quickly as well.
Yeah, so I mean it's a long game, and different people will do things at different clips. And but we yeah, I mean we've been having a really good time with it and having fun. And um
Well,
yeah.
let's kind of move into the current day with Mr. Jim Manning, right? Like you got built up. Um, I've sat in rooms with you and you talking about your quarterly rocks and your 1 year goals, your 3 year goals, and oftentimes you're hitting them well in advance of when you want it to. But you just said something that's important, right? You've got 4 companies running without you having to be there day to day. I know you've got a family, you've got 4 kids, your
Yeah.
wife, you got a beautiful family. You're able to be out there coaching their teams, being home when you're supposed to be home, truly living your vision and loving your life, which is obviously what we're passionate about here. But that requires passive income at some point, right? Can you talk about why it's important to have that passive income and not necessarily the net worth? Describe that.
Yeah, so one of the things that, and Derek, I believe we knew each other when we were on this phase of our journey as entrepreneurs. Um we started out with one of the main goals was, hey, we want to do the most amount of flips, the most amount of deals out of anybody in our marketplace. And we started hovering. We were doing, built up to 20 flips in a year, 50, 100. And then one year, then we started averaging about 120, 150 flips at a time. And the flip is like you see on HDTV for those of you that aren't necessarily have the real estate
No,
background. You buy it.
it's not like you see on
Okay.
HGTV, but nice
It's
try.
not as romantic, but the concept of you buy it, you put money into it, and then you sell it in like a 6 month window, 4 month window, a year window, depending on how big the project is. So we were doing all these flips, and for several years we started hitting over 100 deals a year, but we wanted to do more deals. We wanted to make more money. And what I found out is that a lot of people get into real estate to leave the to get out of the rat race and get off that hamster wheel. Well, when we were doing those deals and those flips, and that quest for more, to do more deals and make more profits and grow our income, what we became was a machine that was very slow moving, and the wheels got stuck in the mud. One year we doubled. I think this was in 2016 or 2017. We went from 150 deal flips to 300 flips in the same year. So we literally doubled the amount of properties that we bought. And then at the end of the year, we looked at our P&L and said, "Oh my gosh, we just made less money this year than we did the year before. What the heck are we smoking?" Like, what is wrong? Like, what is going on here? And we had to have like a knee jerk on it, that like, holy cow, like people get into real estate because of the amazing benefits of passive income. And here we are just flipping properties, which all flipping is creating an income source for you. And um, so a lot of people will watch HGTV, and I think they'll see, oh man, that sounds great to have an extra 50 or $100,000, and uh, and like a step is skipped though. If you have a job that you're loving and you're passionate about, like there's already income coming in, right? So you have active income coming in. If then you decide to do a flip and maybe you make $50,000, well, that's more active income coming in, but that's not taking a step towards getting out of the rat race. That's just creating the income. So then what we decided to do, and you actually, Derek knows Jason, Jason Courtney, talked us a few years ago into focusing more on recurring revenue and building our net worth. And we had been picking up rentals over the years, but we hadn't like focused on that as our main driver. And when we began focusing on the rental properties, and in our case, we have a lease purchase strategy that's fantastic that we can get into here in a second if you'd like. Uh, so we started focusing on a strategy that's higher cash flow and lower risk than what a normal landlord takes on. Our whole world changed because instead of starting from square one and having to do 300 flips to make the income we wanted, if we had 50 properties that we bought the year before, well, now our start lines, like we still have those 50 properties, so our start line moved forward, right? Um, and that has been a game changer for us to be able to do that. And it ended up leading us to opening up our own real estate fund. We have 130 partners in it, and it's been incredible. It's been an amazing journey.
Yeah, and I think if you wouldn't mind just describing a little bit what the lease purchase program is compared to what many often would do is just buy and flip and resell and pay the capital gains, right? The lease purchase extends things out. So there's advantages. So certainly if you can describe that a little bit, that'd be great.
Yeah, so basically it's a little bit more commonly known as a rent to own. And the reason why there's nuances there on why we call it a lease purchase. We believe we like the lease purchase structure better. We think it's better for the client and better for us as the investor. But basically what we do is we go to someone that can't be traditionally approved and get a traditional loan. And one of our first clients was in a domestic abuse situation, and her husband was so controlling, she wasn't allowed to open up a credit card. No credit card means no credit score, and so we crossed paths with her and said, well, hey, you're a teacher, you're making great money, you have enough savings for a starter home. Just because you don't have a credit score because of that thing that's in the past, why don't you be a homeowner? So she's awestruck. She's completely excited about it. We're excited. We're going to do something good for someone. And so then what happens is depending on the deal, you might get 10% down from a tenant buyer is what we call them. You might get 5% down. It just kind of depends on what your model is and what you decide that you're going to do and take. And so what's nice about it is, let's say it's a 10% down of $300,000 house. Well, it's $30,000 of down payment money, right? And that $30,000 isn't taxable as income until the tenant moves out or buys you out of the property. So in the case of a lease purchase that lasts 5-10 years, that's a lot of delayed years to have that $30,000 and not pay taxes on. So the lease purchase model is beautiful in that there is an influx of capital, the way like a flip creates an influx of capital, but then it also extends the exit strategy out to be able to make that passive income and make money over time. And one thing I would say, guys, like an investment tip for you is the amount of time on an exit strategy is critical to the risk profile. So if I'm doing a flip and I have 6 months to do a deal, if that flip takes me 9 months, that's an extra 3 months of holding costs. That costs me thousands of dollars. If a $50,000 renovation budget now turned into an $80,000 renovation budget, that's more expenses as well, right? So when it comes to like a 6 month window, everything has to flow perfect and right for that profit margin to be intact and for you to make money. If you have a 30-year window, things can go completely wrong. And maybe you didn't make as much money as you would have if you would have bought it right, but you dramatically lower the risk profile. So not only do we have a strategy where we're making more money than we were used to making on a per deal basis, our risk went from, I'd call like a regular old flip, maybe a 6.5 out of 10 on a risk profile. And the lease purchase structure, I'd say, is probably like a 2.5 on the risk profile. So, we ended up shifting it and creating a win for the client. Offering an opportunity to home ownership, and a win for us as investors and in a lower risk way. So we absolutely fell in love with the strategy. And it's kind of funny looking back, Derek. I mean, you heard Jason kind of doing the rum. God, we've known each other for too long. It's amazing how long we know each other. But Jason would always he'd always talk about it. He'd always talk about, oh well, yeah, I'm doing well, and I'm doing this lease purchase structure. And I would say, Jason, like, are there really that many people that have 20 or $30,000 to put down on a property? I was like, I don't believe you. And finally he said, you know what, Jim, let's just do a deal together and I'm going to show you. And I'll be darned if we don't get 70 leads, 70 inquiries on every property that we market. There's been multiple properties we sell before we even have to market it. And it turns out there's an entire segment of the population that there's demand for from this niche. So much so that the demand's been pulling us to do more deals rather than us forcing our business to do more deals and try and force more profit. The demand's been pulling us to grow, which has been fantastic.
Well, and of course, watching you go through this evolution has been fun for me, mostly because when you say there's a 6.5 on a risk profile with flipping versus 2.5, I know you well enough to know that you absolutely analyze those risk profiles, and those numbers you didn't just pluck out of thin air. I mean, that is the type of person that you've always been, which is really impressive to watch and see from the outside looking in. I guess my curiosity, and probably everyone else that's listening, is how do you fund these houses? How do you take down these houses and then allow people to live in them for these long periods of time on a lease purchase?
Yeah. So, like in general, how do we personally do it, or
Well,
what do you?
the process, yes, it's how you guys personally do it, but certainly you can use bank financing, you can use private capital. What do you feel like is the model that you like the best?
So the model I like the best is one at Derek, actually one of your expertises. When you can talk a homeowner into creative financing, in this market, because interest rates have gone up, what a beautiful thing. So we have a client, Julie's her name. She's made over $40,000 after she sold her property, in passive income, to our team. And the reason she was able to do that is because she had some equity in the property and she had a 3% interest rate. So we went to her and we said, well, hey, you have a 3% interest rate, you have some equity. Why don't we give you passive income every month, allow you to retain a stake in the property, have a lien on the property, and you win, we win, and we're going to pay a little bit less per month than what we would pay with a new mortgage, and you're gonna make some passive income, and in her case, it's a big deal making a couple grand a month because she's a teacher, so percentage wise of her income, it's became quite a bit. So that would definitely be like kind of the number one favorite when that situation allows for that. Not everybody's situation, it doesn't make sense for everybody. Um, and that's one of the things that I'm proud of with our Three Doors company is when we talk with homeowners, we assess like, hey, what's your situation? Does creative financing make sense? Does a cash offer make sense? Does just listing it on the open market make sense? And we're able to put the client first, and then to help them decide what's best for them.
Yeah, and that's fun for me too when I deal with people that you can go and buy pretty houses when people have a financial distress, and you can help them through that financial distress, give them the passive income and not have a big rehab project. Certainly some of them do need to be rehabbed, but I love that model of being able to buy something that's almost turnkey, or it is turnkey, and
Mhm.
then put the lease purchase tenant in there. So
Yeah, absolutely. And what's interesting is so we started the company in our 20s, and we started doing all these deals, right? And one of the things that one of the reasons why we were able to do it was because we had passive investors lending us money to be able to do all the deals. And so when we talk about different creative finance structures or deal strategies, one of the things I think a lot of people miss is uh, is making a decision. Do I want to be an active investor or a passive investor? Right. Um, a lot of people don't understand that you can even do that. Um, uh, so anyway, so that's something that to be aware of as well. Uh, Derek, did you so you've done a tremendous amount of deals with passive investors as well over the years, haven't you?
yeah, absolutely. And in fact, our lending company that I exited recently, my partner bought me out of, that was 100% funded by passive investors. And I think one point that I love to make is when you do a deal with a homeowner or a business owner or commercial property, whatever you're negotiating on, don't overlook the person that you just bought that property from as a future passive investor. So we just recently closed on 3 houses that I bought for zero money down, and the seller's carrying financing for 10 years at 0% financing. And it's structured that way because we were willing to pay him full retail. But our conversation also said, in the future, when we pay you off, we would like you to come back as an investor of ours. And at that point, you'll be able to get 6, 7, 8, 9, 10% return on your money. And so I love the fact that we can build these relationships. You're building your credit, so to speak, with these home sellers or business sellers. And then after you've done business with them for a couple of years, it's very easy and beneficial to all parties to turn them into your future passive investor.
Oh, there's so much gold there with what you did. You are a deal ninja. That's
Well,
amazing.
when I get done being the talent on the podcast here, I'll come beg for a job at Three Doors.
Hey, we are growing to a city near you now. Oh man, no, that's incredible. And but yeah, I mean, so what's funny is we were working with all these passive investors for like over a decade. And then all of a sudden I started like adding up like some of the money that our investors were making, like, holy cow, this person's financially free. This person's financially free. This person's, and it didn't even dawn on me that like as an active investor here, I was creating all these passive and investment opportunities for people. And, but a lot of people skip that step,
Mhm.
and people will say like passive income. Oh, I love the idea of passive income. I want to replace my income. And then they'll go out and they'll buy a rental property and realize that when you own a rental property, it's not much is passive about it. It's more of a recurring revenue business model. and owning a rental property, starting your own business. And so it gets confusing because people say they want passive income and then they don't invest in a passive way. They like the investors that invested, Derek, with your team and with our team. Um, and I guess it's an awareness thing. Like, do you think just people don't understand that there's other options out there? What do you think, Derek?
Yeah, 100%. It's all about education and spreading the word, but that there's so many scams out there in this day and age that you need to, in my opinion, you need to really protect your name, your business name, your personal name, do right by others, do what you say you're going to do. And it's a snowball effect, right? Everybody that watches you and your team at Three Doors being successful for years, that's going to they're going to want to approach you. They're going to want to get involved. How can we become an investor of yours? You didn't build that overnight. We didn't build what we have overnight. But as that snowball rolls down the hill and gets bigger and bigger and bigger, the opportunities present themselves, and then you have a new problem, actually, Jim, and I think you've probably run into this before as well. You get to a point where you actually have more money than deals, and that is a problem because you don't want those investors to go somewhere else. So this is a vision question at this point, because now, well, if I've raised more capital than I can keep busy, does that mean I need to take on more work, which may take me away from the personal life that I want? And you and I have been involved in working with each other to I guess hold each other accountable on our visions over the years. And I think it's fair to say, without divulging any personal information, that you and I have both had large aspirations that maybe were the right choice or the wrong choice given the time, right? So how did you how do you curb your vision is my question, Jim, right? I mean, I know what an awesome father you are, and how much you enjoy, being with your family. And yet I also know that anybody that knows predictive index testing, you and I are both mavericks. So how do you pull back on the reins to keep your family life and your vision in check?
So I can only answer for me. So the first thing is that this vision stuff isn't just surface level fluff. It's a big deal, guys. And I know you hear it from other people too. But when you take the time to write down your vision, and then go after it and live it, magical things happen. I recommend getting like a mentor or a coach, Derek Dombeck, that can help guide you through it. Another shameless plug. Again, he's paying me a lot to be on. No, he's not paying me at all. I truly believe it. But for me, to answer your question, it didn't. And I think it's why the billionaire story we shared at the beginning is so important. Because to me, it's not an either or, it's a both. So my vision has that God, family, and then business, and then work. Okay. So those are my priorities. I'm very clear on that. Uh, and um, and the goal that I've set has been, okay, well, how do I achieve the pinnacle of business success without the opportunity cost that the billionaire example that I had experienced? So if becoming a billionaire cost me my family, I am not willing to pay that cost. I am clear about that. My business partners know that, and I'm not going to do it. Uh, and I don't believe like I have to make that choice. I believe I can do both. Now, there's been times in my life where a weekend with the kids, oh man, I'm not present with the kids because I'm still kind of working in my head. And then there's been times where I've been at work where I'm like, man, I should be doing something for the kids or being a better dad. And what has helped me is I started really focusing on the weekends as if it was like another extension of my goal, like a business goal. And like this is an entrepreneur. I'm sharing my deep dark secrets here. Some people listening that are entrepreneurs would be like, wait, what? Like what is this guy like demented or something? But I had to start acting like my weekends were like I had to like run it like a business. I had to, okay, my goal is to be the best dad and the best husband I possibly can be. Okay, we have to do these. My wife needs me to do these two things. What can I do with the kids to make some like a special memory? And I'd write those down, and then I would try and achieve those goals with the same for intensity, the same focus that I would set out for a business goal, and then I'm not as uh, uh, like then like the muscle gets trained, and it's like I don't have to like write down a to-do list in the morning anymore when I'm with the kids, but um, when I was starting to get out of balance. I had to. That's how I reeled it in, and how I was able um, to make that work. So really, Derek, I mean, I think the key is to make your vision about both. You know, to not overlook your personal, to make it um, about your relationships, about your family, and I was just sitting down with someone that has a billionaire friend himself, and he told me that the billionaire would literally give away all his money if he could take the problems that his kids have away, you know, and the lack of the relationship that he has with his kids. And so, you know, I hear that time and time again. I had multiple stories like that I've heard. And so to me, and one of the things, Derek, I'm hoping our generation of leaders can do um, is kind of leave that stamp like, hey, like let's work hard, let's play hard, you know, let's have a family, let's you know like let's achieve it all. Let's not sacrifice any of it.
I love it. And I think that's such a great way to wrap up this episode, Jim. You know, you and I, we could talk for hours, and we've got so much history that it never ceases to me to never ceases for me to believe how incredible the mind is, and what we put in front of us and what we focus on we can achieve. And when I watch you and your team, that's just proven over and over again. So how can people get a hold of you, or just if they want to inquire a little bit more or learn a
Yeah,
little bit more about
a-
passive income and
absolutely. So if you just remember my name, Jim Manning. Yes, I was that guy. I bought a URL with my own name on it. So jimmanning.com. On it, Derek, I have some freebie gifts for your listeners of the Generations of Wealth. I have a couple two real estate courses, and then I have a white paper uh, on what the single family real estate market's doing. I spent hours and hours researching this, and within the course, the first course is about generating passive income. What I did was we generated $10 million of passive income in the last and 2021 and 2022. Um, uh, or I'm sorry, 2022 and 2023. It was $10 million of passive income through three strategies. So what I did in that course is I said, okay, let me break down what the strategies are in case anybody wants to do them. They at least know what they are, right? So I teach on those strategies and how we did that. And then in the second course, I spent a lot of time wanting to educate around investing into real estate funds. So it's called Passive Profits, a step-by-step guide to your first real estate fund investment. And within that course, there's a tool called the Clarity Compass. And what the Clarity Compass will do is it will help you make a decision. Should I be a passive investor or should I be an active investor? And it walks you through a series of questions. And then the course, you know, if it turns out you should be a passive investor, what are the qualifications? What do you need to do? What are some of the risk factors, and how do you assess different risk profiles and different real estate deals? It's a comprehensive course. And you know, Derek, I don't know about you, but I mean, I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on courses and education over the years, and obviously 3,500 deals. There's a lot of experience
absolutely.
that's in this brain of mine. But I don't make money on like these courses or stuff. I know there's a lot of people that will charge you money for it. What I want to do is just provide you and your audience value. And if it turns out at some point our paths can cross, If you have an interest in one of our real estate funds and investing in it, and we have the property to be able to connect with at the right time, fantastic. Let's talk. Maybe we can do a deal together. If not, hopefully I've made you a more astute investor, and you're able to take that knowledge and go do amazing things. The ultimate, the podcast is called The Passive Wealth Show, and it's become a passion project of mine because I had a conversation with my dad, and he confided into me that he was afraid of running out of money before he died. And that just completely took my breath away because he worked his tail off. Him and my mom worked their tails off. They saved their money, and they've become self-made millionaires, which is fantastic, right? And I was like, well, why are you afraid of running out of money before you die? This doesn't make sense to me. And because I'm 38 years old and I have enough real estate that I'm good. And when you invest traditionally and you have a nest egg, and when you're in your 70s, you'd have to start depleting that nest egg, taking out distributions from it. So that nest egg gets shorter and shrinks and shrinks and shrinks because of the distributions taking out. When you own real estate and you have passive income that covers all of your monthly expenses, that real estate appreciates and gains value over time, right? So even though I'm half the age of my parents, I could call it quits and be just fine. So this has become a passion project of mine. I want to get the word out to as many people as I possibly can. Hey, how do you invest into real estate and do it in a risk averse way? Should you do it passively? Should you do it actively? And so if you just go to jimmanning.com, I got a tremendous amount of resources on there for you, 100% free. Just hopefully I can provide you value. That's all I'm trying to do. So,
Well, I already know you will provide value. You have provided value here in the last half hour or so, and I appreciate you being on, my friend. Can't wait to be able to see you in person again soon enough. And as we wind this show down, I just encourage all of our listeners to, start spreading the word, Generations of Wealth. Go out and wherever you're listening to this, like it, share it, love it, all the things, social media. And as always, go out and live your vision, love your life. We'll see you on the next show.
Thank you for joining us on another insightful episode of Generations of Wealth. May your newfound knowledge help you in leveling up your own strategies to get through the many obstacles to your money-making processes and bring you much closer to the financially secure life you truly deserve. Continue filling up your accounts and further polish your financial tactics by listening to more episodes of the podcast at thegenerationsofwealth.com. Because in your wealth building journey, there is no other way to go but up, giving you the chance to finally live your vision, love your life. That's all for now. See you on the next one. Do you want a financially secure future, not just for yourself, but for your loved ones as well? This is Generations of Wealth, the podcast that breaks down the most effective wealth building strategies you can easily apply to your own life. Join investor and international best-selling author Derek Dombeck in exploring practical tips and sound advice on building a profitable business, creating a powerful brand, or getting into the thriving world of real estate investing. This is your chance to create your very own financial roadmap to live your vision, love your life. Let's begin this discussion with your host, Derek Dombeck.